Today we're going to demonstrate how you manage workstations within our new feature called Workstation Kiosk. So we've logged into SuperCloud Composer and we're going to navigate over to Workstation Kiosk. So by doing so, we click on the pod view. That provides us a rack representation of servers that are within a rack. You'll notice that the tree view has been built for systems that are visualized or mounted within a rack itself. You'll see an icon up here that gives us the ability to toggle between Workstation Kiosk view and Rack Server view. So let's go ahead and demonstrate that right now. If we click on the icon, it goes ahead and launches the Workstation Kiosk view. If we click on the icon to toggle back, it goes ahead and launches the Rack Server view. So let's get back into the Workstation Kiosk view. And you'll notice here that we group our workstations in departments. So each of these departments are geolocators where workstations would reside. And in this case, we have a Tokyo department, a Moscow department, and an HPC department that we created in anticipation of this video. So let's go ahead and look at the tree view. You'll notice here that the tree view gets built differently. So we filter on workstations that have been discovered using SSDP, Universal Plug and Play, which is the Redfish DMTF standard. So we simply can click on the edit view here, and we provide the visual representation of servers such as these, our workstations, high performance computing workstations that have been discovered through SuperCloud Composer. So these systems themselves, or workstations, are Intel-based platforms. So we also support AMD platforms as well for workstations such as the Threadripper. That's a cool HPC AMD platform that has the ability to put in GPUs. So any of these servers have the ability to put in GPUs or accelerators. So go ahead and we click on the manual. That gives you the ability to add in servers that are using standard Redfish to manage. They would be discoverable through SSDP, but as long as they're following the Redfish standard, we should be able to go ahead and support them based on our ODM model, Open Distributed Infrastructure Management model we currently have with SuperCloud Composer. So let's demonstrate a drag and drop these workstations into each one of the departments. So let's go ahead here and click back on Discovery Pool. You'll notice that we have two here as in the Discovery Pool and two here that we represent in the tree view. So we can go ahead and drag and drop those themselves into the Tokyo workstation itself. Whoops, I had my mouse slip here, so let me try it again here. I need to work on my mouse skills here. So we go ahead and bring up the system configuration wizard. So our BMC was actually harvested through agents. So this discovery agent harvested metadata from the BMC, which is the source of truth. And we're going to go ahead and put in our chassis location to be HPC/TR5. Again, this chassis location is a locator, a geolocator, perhaps a cubicle number or even a pole number where this workstation is physically located. So easily the IT folks can go ahead and quickly locate this workstation so that they can go ahead and manage it. So let's go ahead and save it. So when we save it, it does not commit the transaction to the back end. It does indicate that it was the group was successfully updated. So let's go ahead and drag the other Intel-based platform into the Moscow department. So when we go ahead and do that, of course, then we're asked to put in the chassis location. So we'll put another chassis location of, say, TRT6. We'll save it. And at that point, we'll go ahead and commit the transaction. So when the transaction gets sent to the back end as a task, you'll see the indication that it's being updated and the transaction is being written to the database in the back end. We'll also see 3 users that are currently editing this particular Workstation Kiosk. You'll notice that the submit button is grayed out because we're actually going ahead and committing a transaction. So it's serial in nature, but of course if you have lots of workstations that need to be committed through an automatic orchestrator, there's the ability to communicate with the northbound API to do this in bulk. Of course, we wouldn't put you through of having to manage and register thousands of workstations through the GUI. So that northbound API is open, and we have sample scripts and software developer kits we provide to allow you to do so. You'll notice here that the submit button has come back to indicate that the transaction has been completed itself. The discovery pool has been exhausted. There's no more entries in there. And of course, the tree view doesn't represent a discovery pool entities inside the pool itself. So if we wanted to go ahead and create another department, we could certainly come back into the edit function and then add in a different department. In this case, we could call it perhaps media as the department. And then notice that the diamond changes in color to blue. If we needed to add additional ones, we would change the color appropriately per department. In this case, we'll go ahead and add that one to molecular lab. And we can go ahead and save those, and at that point we can also submit those. The departments were successfully created, and of certainly we could commit the transactions to the back end. Again, they would be updated. We can simply go ahead and uncollapse these. So if the arrow is pointing to the right, it would be in a collapse mode. And if the arrow was pointing downward, it would represent it is uncollapsed. And then at that point, once the transaction is completed here, we would create additional departments within the Workstation Kiosk. So let's go ahead and go to the left-hand side and go ahead and explore some of the tree view itself. You'll notice here that Tokyo and Moscow are the departments. They have a different icon associated with them. And then you have HPC TR5, remember, is that descriptor locator that we basically utilize there for each of them. You'll see here that this X indicates that we're still committing this transaction to the back end itself. So simply at this point, the X will be removed once all of the metadata gets shipped up to the composer in the back end. You'll see here we have now 5 particular, and let's speed up this transaction a bit here so it completes faster here. But you'll see here in the Workstation Kiosk view, now we have essentially, let's count them here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 departments itself. And of those departments, we have one workstation in the Tokyo department and one workstation in the Moscow department with, of course, different color coding. And by hovering over this, you can look at serial number, locator code, and IP address of the BMC. We can come to the left here and simply issue the tree view at this point, and we can look at various different metadata associated with each of these workstations. So let's go back to the dashboard for a moment while these transactions are still being committed. And let's click on the dashboard and see here that our activity timeline should now reflect information that we've added here for each one of these systems that were added within the pod view, or what we call the Workstation Kiosk itself. So let's go back to the pod view and look at the workstations themselves. So let's go ahead and do so. And so click on Workstation Kiosk, and then we can look at each one of these departments themselves. And we have the appropriate metadata here to show each of them, indicating the serial number, the BMC firmware, so on and so forth. And then we also have the ability to click on each one of these BMCs to get connected into each one of these workstations themselves. And we can simply click here as well to indicate that this system here has now an operating system deployed or resources allocated to it, and we can simply click on there and provide all the metadata we're looking for associated with this workstation, including the ability to connect to its BMC address.